All across Wisconsin, men and women accused of crimes are sitting in jail for months before they've even gone in front of a judge.
And the reason is that no attorney will represent them. NBC 26's Matt Jarko looks into the issue and finds a common frustration.
At the Brown County Courthouse, attorneys and their clients frequently shuffle in and out. Across town, though, people who can't afford a lawyer are sometimes sitting in jail, waiting for one attorney to represent them.
It can take between 100 and 200 calls to try and find somebody who's able to take the case. It's very difficult.
Green Bay Regional Public Defender Manager Jeff Cano says while his office makes those calls, clients can sit in jail for weeks or even months before they've seen their day in court.
Well, it's frustrating and it's hard. We have clients who have a loss of liberty that are unable to get their case heard because they're sitting in jail, and it's just hard to see.
And it can be costly. The Brown County Sheriff says each inmate in jail costs taxpayers roughly $50 a day. If someone is waiting in jail for 2 months or 60 days, that's $3,000. The Public Defender's Office represents people who can't afford an attorney. The lawyers here take about 60% of the cases that come into the office. The rest go out to private attorneys at a rate of $40 an hour. It's been that rate since 1995, and at $40 an hour, attorneys aren't taking the work.
It's a gigantic problem.
Retired attorney Hank Schultz says the rate has been referred to as a constitutional crisis.
They're in custody, evidence disappears, witnesses forget things, they don't get they lose their job, they may lose custody of their children, they fall behind on child support. These are all things that wouldn't necessarily happen if there was an adequate indigent defense system in this state.
So what are you looking for from the court?
In Wisconsin, there is another option for people who can't afford an attorney. A judge can appoint one. It can speed up the system, but has its own set of problems. Remember, when an attorney takes a case from the Public Defender's Office, it's at a rate of $40 an hour. But when a judge steps in and appoints an attorney, that rate goes all the way up to $70 an hour. And in 2020, it will go up to $100. And when a judge appoints an attorney, it's the county that has to pay the costs, not the state.
That's the real problem, and it has become a problem for our local legislators as well, because they don't believe they should be paying for a county-appointed attorney for someone who's eligible for a state-paid attorney.
Brown County Circuit Court Judge Thomas Walsh says he appoints attorneys a couple of times a month for people who are in jail and usually have been for 4 to 6 weeks. He's able to find attorneys.
So you can tell that it's related to the hourly rate that they're getting paid.
And Wisconsin is going to see if that's the case. The recently signed state budget raises that rate to $70 an hour. The state's Public Defender's Office expects it to help find private attorneys.
I think it's going to make a substantial difference. It's not going to be a cure-all, but I think it'll be substantial.
Others in the system are not so sure.
It's kind of a Band-Aid approach, but not a very significant one.
Schultz is considering filing a lawsuit to try to get more than one rate change. He wants a permanent fix with a rate indexed to inflation and a separate budget line for private attorneys. His previous efforts for legislative solutions have not advanced.
If we don't get it fixed now, it'll be another 40 years.
For now, as calls continue to be made, clients continue to wait in jail.
We have cases for them. The only question is whether they were willing to take it.
In Brown County, Matt Jarko, NBC 26.
And we're told the Public Defender's Office will typically have to hand off a case because of a conflict of interest. On something like a major drug bust, for example, they'll only be able to represent one of the suspects. You can find more information on this topic on our website, NBC26.com.